Hey math class, I hope you all had a great weekend. Welcome back to another week of digital learning. In today's class, we're going to look at lesson 61, parts 1 to 5. Before we start, I just wanted to say how proud I am of all of your great work on your tests. So great job and keep up the awesome work. So for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at lesson 61, and we'll start off with part 1. So for part 1, it asks you, or it tells you that each equation has a missing fraction. Your job is going to be to find the missing fraction to make the equation true. So I'll do the first two with you. I have them written out right here on my board. So for the first one, we have the fraction 3 over 7 multiplied by another fraction will give us 6 over 14. And then for part B, we have the fraction 6 over 5 multiplied by the fraction that we have to figure out will equal to 30 over 30. So for these types of questions, we have to remember what we do when we multiply fractions. So when we multiply fractions, you multiply the top two numbers together, and then you'll multiply the bottom two numbers together. So in this case, we have to figure out 3 multiplied by what number will give us 6. So if we skip count by 3's, 3, 6, right? So 3 multiplied by 2 will give us 6. And then for the bottom number, 7 multiplied by what number will give us 14. Once again, we can skip count by 7's, 7, 14. So it's going to be 2. So our missing fraction is 2 over 2, or 2 halves. If we look at part B, it's the exact same concept. We have to multiply our two top numbers together, which will then equal to 30, and then multiply our two bottom numbers together, which will give us 30 once again. So we have to figure out what we're going to do. Our first step is to multiply 6 by what number will give us 30. So we can skip count by 6's. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Right, so we know that 6 multiplied by 5 will give us 30. And now we have to do the same with the bottom number. 5 multiplied by what number will give me 30. Right, so we can skip count by 5's. You can use your multiplication chart to help you as well. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So it's going to be multiplied by 6. So our fraction for part B is going to be 5 over 6, or 5/6. So once again, what I want you to work on now is part C and D. All you have to do is multiply the two top numbers to give you your answer. Right, so you have to figure out what the missing number will be in your equation, and then same for the bottom. You're going to have to figure out what do you have to multiply that number by to give you the last number. So you guys can pause the video now, and then I will see you in part 2. So welcome back to part 2. So for part 2, the title of this is Fractions Related to Division. So once again, we have to remember that fractions can also be read as division problems. So for part A, the first one is done for you. We are given the fraction, I'll write it down, 63 over 3. So this is the fraction that we have, 63 over 3. But we can also read this as a division problem, which we have written underneath, which would be 63 divided by 3, right? So here it is as a fraction. What we have to do is rewrite it in words as a division problem, right? So we have 63 divided by 3. So that's our first step. And then our second step is going to be to solve. So in order to do that, right here, I'm going to rewrite it as my division problem. Right, so this is going to be separate. So once again now, all I have to do is divide the number 3 into the first number, if it can be divided into it. Right, so can 3 be divided into 6? Yes, it can. How many times? 3, 6, 2 times. So above the 6, I'm going to write my 2. Now I have to divide the 3 into my next number. Right, 3 divides into 3 one time. So I'll put the 1 right on top. So my answer is going to be 21. I'll do one more example with you guys. I'll do part B. So once again, you are given a fraction. What you're going to have to do is write it in words what the division problem will be, and then you're going to have to solve. So for part B, we have the fraction 205 over 5. So that's the fraction that we're given. Now we have to rewrite it in words as a division problem. So if we were to say this as a division problem, right, we are dividing, so it's 205 divided by 5. So that's what we're going to write. 205 divided by 5. So now I've changed this fraction, and in words, I've turned it into a division problem. 205 divided by 5. Now for my second step, I have to solve for what this will equal. So once again, I'm going to rewrite the question. I'll do it right here in the box. The top number, right, the 205, my top number always goes under the division sign. And then my bottom number is the number I'm going to put in front of the division sign. So just like I did in the last example, I'm going to see if I can divide 5 into the first number. So can 5 be divided into 2? Right? It can't. So now I'm going to look at the next number as well. Can 5 be divided into 20? Yes, it can. How many times? We can skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. So 4. So right above the 0, I'm going to put a 4. Now I'm going to see if I can divide the 5 into 5. Yes, I can. Right? How many times? Once. So my answer is going to be 41. So 205 divided by 5 is 41. So you guys can pause the video now, and then I will see you in part 3. So for part 3, I'm going to read a little bit from your book so that we know what we're doing. So what it tells us in our book is, for part 3, the title is Price Tag Comparisons. Each sentence compares what a person has with the price of a bike. You're going to make a number family that names and adds a difference number for each sentence. So what we're going to be doing is just organizing our number families. We're not going to solve because we don't have enough information. So once again, we're only going to be organizing the information that we have. We're not going to be solving for any of the numbers because we don't have enough information to solve these number families. So I'll do the first one with you guys. So we're looking at part 3. So it tells us the bike costs $11.14 more than what Jerry has. Right? So I have my number family here. And then let's circle the key information. I've bolded all of the keywords, right? So in question A, we have the keyword more. Right, that word tells us that this is going to be a difference problem, right? So our number family is going to be a difference problem. So right at the beginning, I'm going to have to write my diff. And then always the number that is written right before that special number, or that word, right, the word more, is going to be our difference number. So if we look at the word right before the word more, our keyword is going to be $11.14. So this is going to be our difference number. Now we have to figure out the names of our last two categories, or what will be our second small number and our big number. So we know it tells us in the question that the bike costs more than what Jerry has, right? So since the bike costs more, the bike will be our big number, and it'll go at the end of the arrow. So this will be the bike. And then since Jerry has less than the price of the bike, Jerry will be our other small number. And we're done, right? This is all the information we were given. we knew that it's a difference problem because it had the keyword more, right? The number that is right before that keyword is our difference number, which was $11.14. Remember to put in your dollar sign and your decimal. And then we had to figure out what would be our big and small number. So we looked and we saw that the bike costs more than what Jerry had. So the bike is our big number, and then Jerry will be our small number. Now let's do also part B. So you're going to read the question and then organize it the same way. Once again, we don't have enough information to solve. So for part B, it tells us that Donna has $3.45 more than the price of the bike. Once again, we know this is going to be a difference problem because it has our keyword, which is the word more. So right at the beginning, I'm going to write diff to represent this is going to be a difference problem. So now I need to find out what my difference number will be. So once again, that number will be right before the word more. So our difference number is going to be $3.45. So that's the difference between the price of the bike and how much money Donna has. If we read the question, it tells us that Donna has more money than the price of the bike. So since Donna has more money, she's going to be our big number, which is at the end of the arrow. That means that the bike is going to be our little number. We don't have any more information, so we're done for this question. Once again, we knew that it's a difference problem because it had the keyword more. The number that was right in front of our keyword is our difference number, which was $3.45. Once again, since we're dealing with money, I had to put in my dollar sign and my decimal. From the question, it told us that Donna had more money than the price of the bike. So Donna is our big number, which goes at the end of the arrow. And then our bike was our small number, so it had to go right in front of or right before the arrow. So this is all we have to do. Once again, we're only organizing the problem, we're not solving. So you guys can pause the video now and try to do questions C and D. Just as a hint, C and D will both be difference problems. So now we're going to be looking at part 4. So for part 4, we're going to be looking at fractions on a number line. So I'll draw the first one, we'll do the first one together, and then I want you to practice on the second one. It asks you to write the fractions for all the whole numbers on each number line. So we're going to be looking at number line A. It goes from 0 all the way to 4. So those are the whole numbers, right? If we look on the left side, these will be our whole numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the right side, what you're going to have to do is write what that fraction would equal. What we're given is the bottom number of our fraction. So we know that the bottom number is going to be 7. So this is going to help us when writing all of the fractions for this number line. Remember, the bottom number will always be the same for each fraction. So this will be our first step. We can put all of these fractions over 7 because all of our bottom numbers will be the same and our bottom number will not change. Now, using a different color, all we have to do now is figure out what our top number would be. In order to do that, what we're going to do is multiply our bottom number by the whole number, and that will give you the top number of your fraction. So this is what I mean. So when we're trying to figure out for 0, the whole number 0, what the fraction will be, I'm going to multiply the bottom number, 7, by the whole number 0. So 7 multiplied by 0 will give me 0. So my fraction is going to be 0 over 7. If we're looking for the whole number 1, right, once again, my bottom number is 7, my whole number is 1, so I'm going to multiply them together. So 7 multiplied by 1 gives me 7. Oops. All right, So my whole number, or my fraction, is going to be 7 over 7 for the whole number 1. Now when we're looking at the whole number 2, once again I'm going to multiply this 7 with the 2. So 7 multiplied by 2 will give me 14. So my fraction will be 14 over 7. When I'm looking at 3, my whole number 3, I'm going to multiply 3 and the 7, which will give me 21. So my fraction will be 21 over 7. And then for my last whole number, 4, once again, I'm going to multiply the bottom number. So 7 multiplied by the whole number, which is 4, gives me 28. So the fraction for the whole number 4 will be 28 over 7. So now what I want you guys to do is look at the number line in part B. And once again, it goes from 0 to 4. And underneath each one of those whole numbers, you're going to have to write the fraction. It tells us the bottom number will be 9. So that's a hint to help you. So you guys can pause the video now, and then you can carry on with part 4. And now for part 5, which will be your last part, we're practicing our multiplication. So it asks us to solve each problem. So you can use your multiplication chart, or you can practice your skip counting. We have 9 questions there, so we'll continue to practice our multiplication so you guys can work on that. Great work, and I'll see you guys in our next lesson.